Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's third video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for today's third video, day 10. It's going to take us to around the 28th of November, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with extended GFS and ECM ensembles, maybe around a couple of weeks. Have a look at CFS-V2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks. And I'm going to show you the most recent CFS 12Z run, which appeared last night. And it's a bit of a shocker, and if I was doing a Christmas update with that today, then, you know, people would be very excited, I think. But I'm not doing a Christmas update until tomorrow, but I thought I'd show you it at the end of the video, because it is model data, and that's what we do on our videos, isn't it? Look at model data, so that'll be coming up right at the very end of the video. Please like, share, subscribe on videos. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. The first video release day was our 7 AM upload. And also we've released a European Outlook. We have a 12Z look ahead for you this evening. Just very quickly, sort of 5-10 minute video going through 12Z. I shall see what time I have this evening. But thank you so much everybody. I hope you're having a lovely Thursday as well. Thanks so much everybody for tuning in. Right, so let's crack on with 10 to 14 day events. I want to start with the Arctic North Atlantic Oscillation, because they're really setting the scene for what's going on. So the black line here is telling us where the Arctic Oscillation has been. And red line's up there where GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. Now remember, the AO is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric data. It doesn't drive anything, so in terms just tells us what the atmosphere is doing. So when the AO is in its positive phase, got low pressure over the Arctic and over pole. When the AO is in its negative phase, got high pressure blocking somewhere over the Arctic and over pole. Now at the moment, the AO is weakly positive, as it has been. Well, it's generally been positive, you know, since the middle of October, really. But the GFS ensembles are forecasting that the AO will go really quite negative over the next week to 10 days. So this is a change that's coming. Blocking is going to get going around Greenland and in the North Atlantic, and that high pressure is what's forcing the AO to go negative. Now, by the beginning of December, we might start to see a little bit of a tick up in the AO, then possibly lose the blocking and begin to revert back to westerly flow. Because that's a very long way off. That's the extended range within the CFS, so within the GFS, I should say. So yeah, you know, in the immediate time frame, looking at a negative AO and an increase in the northern blocking signal. Same time, the NAO is on the move as well. So again, black line shows where we've been with the NAO, the red line's up where the GFS ensembles forecasting the NAO to go. Through a lot of this autumn, the NAO has been negative, particularly through October and into November, although at the moment we're positive with the NAO. That's the reason we're drawing in the Maya westerlies at the moment. But look at this real drop in the NAO being forecast through the final sort of week or so of November, going very negative with the NAO2. That tells us that the you know, we're getting high pressure developing close to Iceland, lower pressure around the Azores. Again, similar to the AO, by the beginning of December, we might be starting to see a little bit of a recovery in the NAO as well. Might be starting to go rather positive by then, or getting more positive by then, I suppose, getting back towards neutral, really. But again, very extended range, long way off, and like in the next week, 10 days anyway, the AO and the NAO are going into negative territory, and this is a signal potentially for blocking and for colder weather. So the AO, NAO really setting the scene for what's to come. Central temperature is looking like this. The CT is currently standing at 9.2. That's around 2 degrees above average. Has been a very mild November so far. That's going to take a little bit of a plummet, I think, next week. That's provisional to the 17th of November, to yesterday. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. The next couple of weeks, we're going to Hemel Hempstead today. Suggested locations. You'd like to have your local town or city feature within this part of the video, and please let us know through the comments, so we're very happy to do that. So red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Hemel Hempstead. Starting off still above average at the moment. Got another day or two of this really mild autumn to go, but it's running out of road by the time we get through to the weekend. To next week, we've gone colder than average. And generally the trend, you know, for the rest of November, dates on the bottom of the chart, rest of November, then is going to be below average, colder than average. And really good agreement as well, actually. You know, that's a very strong signal to be below average over several days, actually. quite a prolonged period of colder weather. By the very end of the ensemble graph, just here into the first days of December, we might start to see a little bit of a recovery in the temperature starting to take place then. Of course, that is extended time frame and unreliable. Lots of dry weather to come as well for Hemel Hempstead over the next day or two with this really mild weather. That's the cold front. Most of today's spikes there. The cold front dropping southwards, introducing the cold air from the north over the weekend and into part of next week. And then beyond that, it gradually starts to turn more unsettled. So not only is it going to be, not only will it be turning colder, it will be turning more unsettled as well. And so that brings an increased risk of rain, sleet, and maybe even have to think about a little bit of snow in some places. Well, let's have a look at the snow row, shall we? There it is. So if we ignore that outlier member just there, which of course is very over the top, and go for a huge dumping of snow, we can see, but nevertheless, there is quite a few of the ensemble members that are increasing the risk of snow for Hemel Hempstead from around the 25th through to around the 30th of November. We have got several ensemble members that are bringing snow to Hemel Hempstead, and that's, you know, relatively long way south as well. So areas further north and over higher ground, they will have an even greater chance of getting a little bit of snow, potentially, particularly through the second half of next week, I would have thought. Temperature anomalies from the 18th, 26th of November, going to be milder than average in most places. Although we are seeing these cooling down now, so still just about hanging on to a milder than average temperature anomaly. But in the far south, actually a little bit below average. And I think we'll see these trending colder over the next day or two. Precipitation anomalies from the 18th, 26th November, still drier than average. But, you know, this dry, warm, mild spell have on and off throughout the autumn is drawing to a close now. Latest wind from that from earthnorthschool.net shows that we're drawing in those very mild west-south westerlies again today. They'll switch to northerlies over the weekend. And there we see it. That's the UK Met for Saturday. Wind coming down from the north will bring the first push of cooler air over the weekend and into part of next week. It will be colder. Temperatures dropping a little bit below average, and overnight frost is distinctly possible. High pressure end ridges in through Monday through Tuesday. Brings quite a bit of dry weather with it. And then Wednesday, that high pressure starts to push back northwards again. Back up to Greenland. Large Greenland block feature in the North Atlantic, going up to Greenland there at around 1,055 to 1,060 millibars, I think that is. Big blocking area of high pressure with a cold front pushing southwards. That's introducing true Arctic origin air by this time next week with the UK Met. There's a cold front coming through here, and behind that is where we've got the true sort of Arctic origin air with the ice bars actually going off the chart right way up to the very top of the Arctic Circle. So obviously that is going to be, you know, really, really cold northerly setting in with the UK Met by the end of next week. This is how the GFS midnight run is looking. Again, winds are in from the north on Saturday. That's our first push of colder air over the weekend into part of next week. Then the high pressure pushes northwards with the GFS midnight run similar to the UK Met. Cold northerlies starting to move southwards. So Wednesday through to Thursday, we bring this cold northerly northeasterly wind in. And then we get this developing area of low pressure, which is a new feature within some model output today. This developing low just here. Watch what happens with that. That starts to plunge southwards. Now, we had quite a lot of this last winter. Low pressure decoupling from Iceland and plunging southwards. So as we go to the final weekend of November, that is bringing severe gale force winds, heavy rain, probably heavy snow over high ground in the north, and introducing, there is a big warm sector associated with that, but introducing eventually cold air. So as we get towards day 10, 28th of November, that low pressure moves into the North Sea and into the north turn the winds. So it's all going on now with that low. That would really sort of blow away the cobwebs with severe gales, heavy rain, heavy snow. You name it, it would be happening with that area of low pressure. Ultimately, the midnight GFS run goes off into a cold spell with this mid-Atlantic ridge up towards Greenland, low pressure to our east, winds coming down from the north, and then eventually starts to draw in something a little bit milder from off the Atlantic, but not for long. By the end of the GFS midnight run on the 4th of December, we're actually going back into northerly winds via another sort of renewed mid-Atlantic ridge. So quite cold, you know, quite a cold GFS midnight run. This how the 6Z is looking. So again, high pressures away to our west, low pressure to our east on Saturday. We're drawing in the first sort of northerly with that. Then the high pressure reaching around the country through the early part of next week when quite a lot of dry weather will be overnight frost. High pressure then moves out into the North Atlantic by the middle of next week. Down comes this second northerly shot. So Wednesday through Thursday, we're looking pretty cold. Winds in from the north. That could bring snow showers to northern areas and wintry showers down the east coast. Probably a lot of dry weather out in the west. This area of low pressure again is developing around Iceland. What does the GFS 6M do? That one again, it drops it southwards. So that low pressure is it does have a warm sector associated with it, so that brings rain probably to large parts of Ireland, England, and Wales, but Scotland could certainly get quite a bit of snow, I think, from that area of low pressure. It's a pattern that's very interesting, though, the way that low pressure decouples from Iceland and plunges south, which, as I say, is something we saw quite a bit of last winter. Another secondary low then developing to west of Scotland. So with 6 delays that proper Arctic northerly getting in, actually, but it's very messy with rain, sleet, snow. Again, risk of gale force winds with this area of low pressure. Eventually, we do pull in that true Arctic origin northerly wind. So, you know, it's looking cold and wintry there as we get to the end of November with the GFS 6Z. And the GFS 6Z keeps it cold, really, to the end. We renew the northerly on the 2nd of December, again, by this mid-Atlantic ridge type pattern. Even to the very end of the GFS 6Z, which is 4th of December, we're still looking pretty cold, actually, with winds remaining from a northerly direction. We're not talking about December 2010 here. I've seen a few people in the comments saying that this is December to Remember version 2. I'd be very surprised if this gets to that level of severity. Remember, December 2010 was the coldest December since 1890 for the Central England region, and widely, you know, it's the coldest December for the UK on record, I think, for UK temperatures, which go back to 1910. For the CET, coldest since 1890, very nearly the coldest since 1659. The Central England temperature only about 0.1 or 0.2 of a degree off it. So it's very, very unlikely we will get to that level of severity with this. Famous last words, of course, but I would be astonished if we had anything quite as severe as that. But remember, it doesn't need to get anywhere near as severe as December 2010 to still be cold and wintry. You know, you can be like 2 or 3 degrees above for the CET where we was in December 2010, and it will still be a cold month, and there will still be quite a bit of wintry weather. Right, GM looking like this. So I'm sorry, I've gone a bit of a tangent there, but I just wanted to put that on the table. You know, that don't keep your feet on the ground. Don't get too carried away with this. We're not talking about the December to Remember just yet. Right, so this other GM is looking. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. And drop a comment, let us know what you think. We need to put on around 40 subscribers now, I think, only, to get to 12.6k. The subs have moved very, very quickly over the past few days, with interest, you know, increasing with this cold weather. Right, GM looks like this. Winds in from the north on Sunday. So that will be the first push of colder air. Then the high pressure slips in early next week. Overnight frost is very probable. High pressure then pushes out into the Atlantic, moves up towards Greenland. In the middle of next week, this low pressure diving in from the north, bringing rain, sleet, and for northern areas, probably some snow as well. And as that low pressure clears away to the south, that brings the wind in from the north or from the northeast, which will be cold and will bring wintry showers to many parts of the country. Just got to pause the video and answer the doorbell. There we go, door answered. Makes a change to it not being the phone, doesn't it? This time it's a doorbell. Always something going on at GavsWeatherVids Towers. Anyway, that little interruption aside, we shall move on, shall we, with the rest of our video. Let's get to the end then. So we've finished with the GM, just before we was interrupted with the doorbell. Winds in from the north and from the northeast with wintry showers, certainly for northern and eastern areas there. Right, let's have a look at the ECM WF there. And then we shall move on from these charts. So, got the ECM showing winds in from north again on Sunday. First push of cooler air on Sunday into early next week. High pressure ridges in across the country. Comes off normally, but it will be quite chilly under that high pressure with overnight frost. Definitely possible. Then the high pressure pulls back out into the North Atlantic. Through the middle of next week, this area of low pressure plunging southwards to the east of Scotland turns the wind into the north, so we get another push of cold air from the north around the middle of next week. That one could well deliver snow showers to the northern half of the country in particular. ECM also has this developing area of low pressure around Iceland at the end of next week, that plunging southwards. That one goes into the North Sea. So less of a mild sector with that means that there's probably a greater risk of a little bit of snow across parts of the country with that area of low pressure plunging into the North Sea. Looks pretty cold and wintry, that. Very strong wind as well. So gale force winds, heavy rain, sleet, snow. Again, it's all going on with that low pressure plunging into the North Sea. And that's how we look as we get to day 10, which will be Sunday 28th of November again. Low pressure sitting somewhere around Denmark, high pressure out in the Atlantic, reaching up towards Greenland, and winds in from a cold northerly direction. This is a precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from Tometeo.com. So, of course, a lot of dry weather to come in the south over the next few days, but there will be a little bit of rain in the north. The first push of cooler air is over the weekend, could deliver a few winter showers into the north. Early next week, it's mostly dry, and then in comes that northerly. So that brings, it's cold, of course, introducing that northerly wind. Excuse me. So that brings a band of rain southwards, and then we have snow showers packing into northern and western areas on that northerly wind. Middle of next week looks quite wintry around the coastal areas, mainly dry inland, which is something that you do tend to get quite a lot. Northerly winds, and then of course we've got that secondary low sort of diving in. That's bringing rain to southern areas, snow potentially to northern and northwestern regions. Of course, as that low clears away and we open the door to that second or third, I suppose, is by that point, northerly, then many of the showers turn increasingly to snow. Again, they are particularly around coastal areas, but, you know, you might get a trough or something, banding those showers together, push them inland a little bit. Generally quite a cold and wintry look to the weather. Right, these are on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which gets to be 28th of November. 16 members of the ECM ensembles with the Mid-Atlantic Ridge heading up towards Greenland. Trough of low pressure over to the east of the country, winds in from the north. That's going to be quite cold and wintry. 14, again with high pressure to west, low pressure to the east, winds again in from the north. That includes the operational run, which does end quite cold at day 10. Another 10, so that's 14 doing that. So then we've got 10 just here. Have low pressure again over to the east of the country, high pressure ridging in the Atlantic up to Greenland, winds gathering from the north. That could be quite cold. That one 6 with high pressure just out to our northwest, low pressure to our southeast, winds in from the north or northeast direction with that. Looks quite cold there. And then 5 again, mid-Atlantic ridge up towards Greenland, just low pressure over to south of the country. It's going to be quite cold. Might bring in a little bit more of southwesterly with that one. But I think most of, it's all much of a muchness. They're just playing around slightly with exact placements. But generally it's a cold and relatively wintry outlook, I think, at day 10, with nearly all of the options, actually. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that gets us into the start of December. This is 3rd of December. 14 members of the ECM ensembles have that high pressure way to the northwest, low pressure to the southeast, winds in from a northeasterly direction. So, again, that looks like it's potentially quite cold. 12 just here bring milder weather to us. That has high pressure then slipping into France, low pressure around Greenland, Iceland, winds reverting back into the west. That's milder. 10 with high pressure to our west, but also slightly southwest. That's trying to reintroduce milder air off the Atlantic with that one. 6 with low pressure through the country. It does have high pressure over here, though, in the to the south of Greenland towards Newfoundland. I reckon that's probably going to win back into west as well. And then 7 here with high pressure to south, low pressure to north, winds into west. Early December might go milder. We could go milder in the early part of December. CFS V2, finally, looking like this. So it's a 500 millibar high, it's broken down to week periods. The first week period takes from the 18th to 24th of November. The coming week has high pressure pulling out to the west. Going to be mainly dry, but will be turning colder with time, as we've already explained. Now, week 2 is the 25th of November to 1st of December. High pressure then reaching in the Atlantic up to Greenland. CFS has finally got there with low pressure to east and also south. Winds therefore are in from the northeast. That looks a little bit cold and wintry in week 2 with the CFS-V2. Week 3 will be the 2nd to the 8th of December, the high pressure building back in, but still probably pulling in quite cool air or cold air from like a northeasterly type direction, I would have thought. And then week 4 is the 9th to the 15th of December. That high pressure then is set over slightly to the north of the country, mainly dry, but probably bringing quite a cold east-southeasterly type flow from off the continent. Will be a lot of frost and fog with that, I would have thought. The gruesome twosome. Right, the last thing we're going to look at is that CFS 12Z run that I told you about. So this showed up yesterday. And if I was doing a Christmas update today, we would have based it, you know, upon this, actually. We would have based it upon this CFS 12Z run, but we're not doing a Christmas update until tomorrow, so just not quite right with the calendar. But I thought, why not include it anyway? So let's very quickly rattle through these. I thought, why not include it in this video? You know, so let's rattle through these. So we know what's going on at the moment. We introduce a northerly wind for the end of November. It will be turning colder. Then high pressure sets up to our south and brings a lot of dry but quite chilly weather into the early part of December with that CFS run. The high pressure gets to Scandinavia as we go further on through the first week of December, and we start to bring in easterly winds. That's quite a cold easterly. And it is mainly dry though. The high pressure then is moving towards Iceland as we get to the 13th of December, keeping things pretty cold. We're not that cold at this point, but it's pretty cold. You know, night frost, wintry showers, that sort of thing. Very standard sort of winter cold weather for the UK. High pressure is still out to our northwest as we get to the middle of December. That keeps things pretty cold and wintry. Then the high pressure sort of slipping down over the country as we move towards Christmas, bringing a lot of dry weather. Beginning to break a little bit, heading in towards the Christmas period with lower pressure coming off the Atlantic. That would be bringing rain, maybe a little bit of snow as well. A little bit milder as you're moving towards Christmas. That's Christmas Eve, which looks rather messy, but it's quite chilly. And there'd be rain and sleet, a bit of a wintry mix going on there. That's Christmas Day. Notice, again, you know, it's not particularly cold on Christmas Day, but the heights are rising over Scandinavia, and so look what happens as we go further on through the Christmas week. That Scandinavian high gets itself up to 1,060 millibars and becomes a very, very intense area of high pressure. 1,070 millibar Scandinavian/Siberian high, dragging in this extremely long fetch easterly. And look at the upper air temperatures with that on the 29th of December. Extremely cold across many parts of Northern Europe. This is beast from the east stuff, and that east then sort of brings that very cold air across the UK as we go up towards the new year. That's how the upper air temperatures look there for the 30th of December. Extremely cold. You know, that is proper beach from the east stuff, and heavy snow driving in. Remember that there's about a 1, maybe 2% chance that this verifies. So there's a 98% chance that this won't verify. But it's a bit of eye candy, I think. Anyway, look how severely cold it is there on New Year's Eve. That would be the coldest New Year since 1978, 1979, if that came off. And probably the snowiest as well. Into early January, we keep it, you know, cold, low pressure developing within that cold air mass, bringing risk of a lot of snow as well. This is a very severe run of the CFS V2, to say the least. And we go further on into January, and on it goes. Again, Scandinavian high sort of renews itself, and masses of northern blocking as well there on the 16th of January. Back in this severely cold, snowy easterly wind as well. It's an extraordinary CFS run. If it was anywhere near right, then you know, we're in really serious trouble with this winter. But of course, it is almost certainly not going to verify. Look how severely cold it looks again on the 17th of January. This is a very severe winter being predicted here by this GFS 12Z run. Eventually, by the end of January, it starts to go milder. We lose that colder weather. There's that cold weather and bringing some mild weather, at least for a while, but not for all that long, even into February. But the cold isn't all that far away, although February does modify things a lot. So February, after a very cold sort of few weeks from Christmas through to like the 3rd week of January, about a month of it, things, do moderate late in January and through into February. And we shall not go any further with that, but I just wanted to include it in the video because it is very, very, very severe CFS run. And imagine if we'd been doing a Christmas update. So Christmas update based on that run, it would have been exciting, wouldn't it? But there we go. Right, okay, I bet it'll be back to mild again tomorrow when we do the 7th update tomorrow. Right, that's it then. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into this video. It's been an extended one. I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit of fun at the end. But the general point, though, is that it's going to be turning colder through the final week to 10 days of November. And, wintry, particularly for more northern areas, perhaps a little bit getting down to south as well, and all looking quite seasonable after what has been a very mild and really quite warm autumn so far. So we'll keep you updated. Of course, we may do a 12Z look ahead this evening and go through 12Z very quickly, see what we're all showing with this colder end to November. Please smash the like button if you have not yet done so. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Thank you so much for doing that. And drop a comment, let us know what you think. Don't forget to tell your friends to subscribe as well. It's amazing, it's incredible. Thank you so much, everyone. Right, so we're done with this one. I shall probably see you later for our 12Z roundup. But for this, to show what's coming up tomorrow, of course, we've got 7 a.m. forecast, JMA Friday, 10 to 14 day Christmas update, and a live stream. So it's going to be an epic day coming up tomorrow. Right, you enjoy the rest of your first afternoon. I shall probably see you tonight with the 12Z update. But for this one, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.